We have other folks who have very specific areas of focus and interest, right? Or communities they want to support. And to the extent that you can use crypto that's locked up, and especially if you can engineer a tax deferred solution of, moving that capital into real estate, I think you're doing two things. One is you're potentially having an impact in your local community, right? Or for folks who need help, that missing middle, right, to make the jump into homeownership. And two, if you can do it in a tax deferred way, right, you're putting that capital into a much lower risk asset class.
I'm curious what you think when it comes to the 1031 exchange, but in particular, unlocking capital from other sources that are non-real estate related. For example, you're in San Francisco, right? And huge amount of just north of Silicon Valley, and you guys are a lot of people own a lot of cryptocurrency there. I had a couple clients. One worked for Google. She had 50,000 of Bitcoin, went to 50 million, and she was able to exit 5 of that million before the last crypto crash. As of today, crypto's hit an all-time high at $72,000, Frank. And so what we were able to do is we were able to exit her Bitcoin when it was at 54,000 a coin a couple of years ago, defer the capital gains tax, and then put it into a startup company, all tax deferred. So it's kind of like she 1031 or 721 into a startup, non-like kind, no timing restrictions. It was not a 1031 exchange, okay? All tax deferred, right? Now, we went and did this with a second client. He had Ethereum, mostly Ethereum, but also Bitcoin, 7.5 million of the exit. And we call this building a capital gains tax exit plan. And we do this to unlock freedom and impact, and so the idea is, how do we help people who want to be in real estate, but have a huge tax burden, want to invest and do good, like what we're talking about here, but don't know how to bridge the gap there without having to do some kind of forced 1031 or even 721 can be very restrictive because it's just real estate, right? Yep. So just talk about the impact that could have if someone has $100 million of Bitcoin right now, wants to come into a fund like yours and can do that in a tax deferred way that goes right into the fund.
I mean, if we could engineer that, right, and this is something we might have to work together on, that would be fantastic, right? I think where we see the opportunity here is sourcing capital across a number of different places, right? And crypto, especially locked up crypto today, quite frankly, isn't doing anything good for the world, right? It's appreciating. But one of the things that we are very focused on is really allowing people to have impact with their investment. And you could have that in your local community. So we've had investors come in with different capital sources to say, I want to help folks in this particular community, right? We have a retired UNC professor who really cares about Chapel Hill and wants to make sure that we enable homeownership in Chapel Hill. So we've done that. We have other folks who have very specific areas of focus and interest, right? Or communities they want to support. And to the extent that you can use crypto that's locked up, and especially if you can engineer a tax deferred solution of moving that capital into real estate, I think you're doing two things. One is you're potentially having an impact in your local community, right? Or for folks who need help, that missing middle, right, to make the jump into homeownership. And two, if you can do it in a tax deferred way, right, you're putting that capital into a much lower risk asset class, right, that maybe isn't as exciting as crypto, but certainly not as volatile either.
Absolutely. We couldn't agree with you more. If people want to learn more about this, you can go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. We also wrote a best-selling book on it as well called Building a Capital Gains Tax Exit Plan. And it's, we believe the proven strategy to unlock highly appreciated assets, defer the tax, and invest into exactly what Frank is talking about.